Welcome to today's episode. In this edition, we explore a critical and timely issue that's shaping the future of Bangladesh, the crumbling illusion of national unity under the current interim government. After the dramatic fall of Sheikh Hasina's long-standing regime in the July 2024 and August 2024 uprising, an unelected interim government led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus was formed under extraordinary circumstances. Its legitimacy doesn't rest on constitutional provisions but rather on a fragile political consensus among opposition forces. But as phases emerge in that consensus between BNP, Jamaat Islami, NCP, and other ideologically mismatched actors, questions are growing louder. Can there really be national unity without shared history, values, or even trust? And if that unity collapses, what happens to the government's legitimacy and to Bangladesh's democratic transition? Let's take a closer look. The term national unity has been used many times in Bangladesh, especially in moments of deep political crisis. Yet each time it is uttered, reality seems to mock it. In the current scenario, the call for national unity is not just a political necessity, it has become the only tool to ensure state stability and justify the legitimacy of the government. Particularly after the formation of the interim government, this phrase has been wielded as a political foundation. It is no longer just rhetoric. The very existence of the government now hinges on how this unity is interpreted and enacted. In July 2024, a mass uprising brought an end to Sheikh Hasina's long-standing rule. In the bloody, turbulent aftermath, an unprecedented vacuum gripped the nation. The Prime Minister fled the country, the President was effectively under house arrest, and the Chief Justice, along with other judges, took refuge in the cantonment for security. Amid such chaos, an interim government was formed through coordination between the army chief and political actors, with Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus brought into lead. No constitutional process was followed in forming this government. Later, a reference was sent to the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court under Article 106 of the Constitution in an attempt to secure legal legitimacy. However, as the Chief Justice was in the cantonment at that time and the court was essentially non-functional, questions remain about the legitimacy of this move. This is why the Yunus-led government has, from the very beginning, presented national unity as its primary source of political legitimacy. Excluding the Awami League, nearly all political parties were brought together to form the National Consensus Commission, comprising around 30 parties. Professor Ali Riaz, who also chairs the Constitutional Reform Commission, basically he is the vice chair, Professor Yunus is the chair, serves as vice chair of this body, Professor Riaz. The Commission's main objective is to draft a national charter that would seek political consensus on constitutional issues, election methods, parliamentary structure, and the role of religion in governance. But the key question remains, can this national consensus actually materialize? The ideological, political, and historical differences among participating parties are so vast, often diametrically opposed, that forcing a unified roadmap is not just difficult, but perhaps impossible. Take, for instances, the BNP, a party rooted in the legacy of the Liberation War and founded by war hero Zillur Rahman. Contrast that with Jamaat Islami, which formally opposed the Liberation War and collaborated with the Pakistani army in committing war crimes. How can two such parties come to a consensus on the foundational principles of the state. Although they have formed electoral alliances since the 1990s, their ideological rift has never truly healed. Beyond Jamaat, there is the Islami Andolan, Bangladesh, which envisions a Sharia-based Islamic state inspired by the Taliban model, completely incompatible with a modern democratic republic. Meanwhile, the National Citizen Party, NCP, formed by student leaders of the uprising, is carving out its own trajectory. But its recent actions, particularly chanting down with Mujibism during the march to Gopalganj, raise serious questions about political maturity and accountability. Such slogans are not only politically offensive but strike at the core of the nation's founding, its war of independence, and its founding father. If this was a deliberate act, it is deeply dangerous. In this context, the greatest concern is the government's silence. Following violence in Gopalganj, clashes between the NCP and Awami League, and deaths caused by army firing, Dr. Yunus has yet to hold a single press conference. No clear message has come from the administration. In the absence of a functioning parliament, public accountability from the head of government becomes even more essential. Yet the people remain in the dark. At the same time, discussions within the National Consensus Commission have failed to produce agreement on several major issues. Jamaat, NCP, Islami Andolan, and other smaller parties are advocating for proportional representation, peer system in elections. Since they are unlikely to win many seats under the current system, peer would allow parties to gain parliamentary seats based on total vote share, even if they lack constituency level strength. The BNP opposed this, preferring the current first past the post system. So the question arises, if 20 out of 30 parties agree, but major players like BNP do not, can this still be called a national consensus? Will reforms be accepted if they lack backing from politically significant parties? Can the government or the Commission impose majority opinion as consensus while ignoring the dissent of key stakeholders? These questions remain unanswered. Meanwhile, the NCP's ambitions are becoming more visible. They increasingly act like they alone own the uprising and thus deserve to dictate the national election. But their organizational base, mass support, and political experience remain limited. If the government bows to their pressure and makes critical decisions prematurely, it risks further alienation and instability. It is now time for the interim government to shift its focus toward organizing a free and fair election. Hiding behind the veil of reform and unity or appeasing one group at the cost of others will prove self-destructive. Only through the formation of a new elected parliament can fundamental constitutional and structural reforms be legitimately pursued. That parliament, not an unelected interim body, should decide the future of governance. If the idea of national unity is an illusion, it is better to accept that and move forward with pragmatism. Otherwise, the country risks falling back into disorder, violence, and deep uncertainty. What is urgently needed now is a clear commitment, a definitive, transparent plan for inclusive, credible, and timely elections. This is the only path to revive democracy, restore public trust, and validate Dr. Yunus' leadership through action, not silence. The promise of national unity was once the moral anchor of Bangladesh's interim government, but unity cannot be manufactured through forced consensus. It requires shared values, mutual respect, and a roadmap grounded in legitimacy, not just necessity. If this unity continues to unravel, the entire transition risks derailment, and the people of Bangladesh who rose up for freedom, dignity, and democracy may once again be left with disappointment. What the country urgently needs now is clarity, not confusion. A free, fair, and inclusive election is the only way forward. Thanks for listening. Stay informed, stay engaged.